Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining today's Let's Go Zero webinar. We're having a spotlight on the National Education Nature Park today. So it's going to be really inspiring, and we've got a brilliant teacher here today as well to tell us about how they've been involved in the Education Nature Park. But just before I introduce our brilliant speakers of today, I'm just going to introduce the Let's Go Zero campaign very briefly for those of you who are new to us, and then an amazing event that we've got planned this summer. So Let's Go Zero is a campaign calling on the government for all schools, colleges and nurseries across the UK to become zero carbon by 2030. And what we're asking schools to do is sign up to declare their intent and ambition to get to zero carbon. It's not to say that they're doing everything already, but it's to say that they want to improve biodiversity, they want to reduce their emissions and stand alongside their students. And call on the government for support in terms of guidance, in terms of funding, because even in order for us to reach our legislated net zero by 2050 goal, we really need to start stepping up and getting that extra support and funding in order for us to reduce our emissions. So the brilliant thing is we have almost 3,000 schools, colleges and nurseries signed up to the campaign across the UK, which is really, really exciting. And as we grow the campaign and prove that the movement of change and demand is there, we've got support from the Department for Education. We're working with them very closely. We're working with amazing organisations really closely on how we can support schools in giving them guidance and resources to take action. And so Let's Go Zero is led by Ashton, who I work for. It's a climate solutions charity, but we are actually a coalition of organisations who all work behind the scenes to support schools in various different pillars, we call them, or action areas such as energy, procurement, food, water, travel, waste, or school grounds. And so all these organisations you can see on the slide, have a strong track record of supporting schools and young people to take action. And together, we come together to signpost guidance and resources. We hold competitions, we have webinars like this one, and produce free resources to support schools on their journey, on their climate action journey. And a brilliant program that's started this year is our Climate Action Advisors Network, who, if you should go onto our website and find out more, they are real life people to support you on your climate action journey in schools, to develop climate action plans, come in and do surveys, talk to your eco clubs. They have thermal imaging cameras, and they really are there to give you one-to-one support. But with all of our different organisations in the coalition and more, we've created the Climate Action Countdown this summer between the 7th of June and the 5th of July. And it's really a celebration of what schools are already doing for climate action, raising awareness and supporting schools to take the next step on their climate action journey. And all these organisations that you can see here today, including the National Education Nature Park, have come together in a month-long challenge, asking schools and their communities to do one action for sustainability every day. And we really, really want everyone involved. We have a whole calendar of actions to give you inspiration and ideas of what to do. So hopefully easy, quick wins, like label your bins, which one is your recycling bin, which one is your general waste, to maybe slightly more challenging actions, such as have a pop-up swap shop, either a uniform swap shop or maybe a book swap shop, where you ask each child to bring in a book to swap with another child. And so this is our little calendar, and every organisation has sort of dedicated a day and an action to support you on your journey. But this can be used not only during the month, but you could use it with your eco club throughout the whole of the year for different ideas and inspirations. And each day will have an associated blog post and a primary school activity pack and a secondary school activity pack to help you do these actions. So you can use them with your eco club throughout the year for more inspiration and ideas. And of course, every week we will have a prizes up for grabs. So if you do these actions and tell us about it, then you'll be entered into a weekly prize draw to earn sustainability goodies. So go onto our website, have a look. There's so much more to come. We've got assemblies and kits and lots of exciting things for you to get involved with. But just before I hand over to our speakers, I know that was a very quick whiz-stop tour. We do have a few more webinars planned this year. So if you find this one useful, then please do, sign up to the others that we've got planned. We've got a Surfers Against Sewage webinar. Teach the Teacher are taking over to hear the youth perspective of climate education. And then we've also got a Green Jobs and Skills and Careers webinar to come up as well. But that is enough from me. Please do go along and have a look on our website or drop us an email if you'd like to ask any questions about what I've just discussed. But without further ado, I will hand over to our amazing speakers here today. Sam, who's the Senior Programme and Partnerships Manager for the National Education Nature Park from the Royal Horticultural Society, or RHS, as we all know. Tina Farrow, who's the Outdoor Lead at St Philip's C of E Primary School, and Laura Jacklin, the Communications Manager for National Education Nature Park and at the National History Museum. So I'll hand over to them, and please do, we've got lots of time for questions, so drop your questions in the Q&A box or the chat box. We'll have people monitoring it, and we'll have questions at the end, so please do ask away. And I'll hand over to Sam now.
Awesome, thank you so much. And hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. So yes, us three happy bunch from the Nature Park are going to give you a little bit of a flavour of the project, what we've been doing so far, and what the key bits are that might be of interest to get involved with. So this is us. Tina is a fantastic advocate for the programme and has also been doing lots of outdoor learning, lots of things with RHS's campaign for school gardening over the years as well. So we'll have a real life example, which always makes it much more easier to grasp what we're on about. Next slide, please, Laura. Awesome. So the National Education Nature Park and Climate Action Awards are funded by the Department for Education, and we sit alongside some of the other programmes that they're funding as well. We're led by the Natural History Museum, and we work alongside a whole host of different organisations, bringing lots of different expertise and lots of different hooks to the programme. So the Royal Geographical Society, the Royal Society, UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, National Biodiversity Network Trust, MMU, Learning Through Landscapes. So we've got loads of different organisations feeding in who are all area experts in their own right. Next slide, please. And so a bit of background, and I think generally just thinking about the Nature Park as the biodiversity bit of a climate action plan or your sustainability actions with the schools you work with or the schools that you're in. I've worked in sustainability, general sustainability for a while, and I always found biodiversity to be the kind of grey area because you can't really monitor it like carbon. It's not like we have plus or minus or water plus or minus, or we've reduced our waste by X amount. You'll put a bug box in and think, oh, I hope something arrives there, but we've got no idea the actual impact that would have. And so I think the Nature Park is a great tool for that actual data collection and quantifying the impacts that you will already be having with the stuff you're doing in your school, but it adds to that everything you're already doing and provides a method to quantify it for the biodiversity, but also for your young people and your students that are using the site, really allowing them to collect data with how the site is used and building that bigger picture of the potential of your site in your outdoor spaces. So a bit of background of what we're trying to address. So I'm sure most of you will know that UK is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world. We're in the middle of a ecological collapse, so we have a lot of work to do. Education is a key element of that restoration, and that's from the Dasgupta report that we're currently failing on that part of it. We know that access to green space has huge positive impacts to well-being, but also that access to green space is very unequal. And so what we're trying to do with Nature Park is the places that young people go to day in, day out, Monday to Friday, make sure there is nature on those sites so that they have that possibility to interact with that nature and try and level out that access to green space, the inequality in it. We know that there's a shortage in STEM skills as we kind of progress through the just transition and all the different sectors that are opening out and the places that our young people will be working in over the next few decades. We need to skill them for that. And we know that our education estate is massive. So just looking at primary and secondary schools in England, the size of that land is twice the size of Birmingham. And the Nature Park's remit is from early years, primary, secondary, FE, SND, so we encompass more than that. And what we're trying to do is imagine all those little pieces of land. If we all collectively did something on those tiny little spaces, or some a bit bigger, the impact that we could have and the size of the data set that we could establish that's never been established before of what's in our school grounds, what's in our nursery grounds, and building that data set over the years of what biodiversity is there, hopefully seeing an increase. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we sit within what we call the kind of sisterhood of projects that the DFE have funded alongside climate action plans, which obviously Let's Go Zero are a part of. So we help provide that nature biodiversity bit of strand of work. And as I say, we're really focused on young people leading the way on this. And I'll go on to the next slide, which goes through our overall aim of all young people in England developing a connection to nature, developing understanding and skills and agency by understanding the threats it's facing and feeling able to do something about it. So at our core, the Nature Park is we wanted for all young people to develop that connection to nature and not just improve biodiversity on the school estate, because we could hire loads of ecologists to go up to all the schools, do all this stuff, and that would just sit there. Whereas the big impact we can have is our young people taking over this process from the start, building those skills themselves, building that agency, taking ownership of those school grounds, maintaining it over the years that they're there, and really building that legacy for the young people that will come after them. Next slide, please. So our overarching aims of the Nature Park, what we're trying to do is that it won't be a surprise. All of these aims are equal. There's no one that takes over another one. So biodiversity gain across the education estate, putting nature at the heart of education through some, we have a whole host of curriculum resources, which I'll talk about shortly, developing green and digital skills. So we have a skills framework that sits behind all of the activities on our website. We've not just collated a load of random bits. We have a full structure that sits behind that, and all the activities we have on there kind of build toward these green and digital skills. You want to improve pro-environmental behaviours and improve wellbeing in young people, and involving all children and young people in that process. So addressing that inequality of access to green space, but also serving underserved audiences, understanding how programmes like ours will best fit in every different phase of education. Next slide, please. So one of our key USPs of the project is the mapping, and not just habitat and biodiversity mapping, but also gathering data from across your site to understand it in a new way. But one of the most visual, exciting things you can see on our website is the green blob map, which is there. If you go on our homepage, it might take a little while to load, but you can see it and you can zoom in. And so all these green blobs are schools who've signed up and then done the secondary process of doing their site boundary. And then that enables them to map the habitats that they have on their site. Alongside that, this year we're focusing on advising grey to green interventions. This is because we know every school has grey space, and in fact a lot of schools only have grey space, and within grey space the most potential is there for biodiversity improvement. So if you have some gravel, obviously there's lots more you could do with that. So we've written guidance based on RHS and NHM science teams on the best interventions you can do in those grey spaces. We want to monitor biodiversity over time, so we are currently funded until 2027, which will allow for a large data set to be established, collected by the young people over that time that your school can then build on over the years to come. And yes, online map displays a collective difference we're being made. So that right-hand part of that map there shows all the different types of habitat as a pie chart. We've only just launched the habitat mapping, and we have a big thing to come at the end of May, which Laura's going to talk about, which will boost us on the habitat mapping map. But that kind of says we've got X amount of grass, X amount of grey space. So we'll begin to understand for the first time ever what our school estate looks like across the country. So I'm just going to mention a little bit about where we came from. So we launched in October, but a huge amount of work happened before that point. So we did a 5-month Pathfinder phase with, this is actually wrong, it's 39, not 40, different settings across the country. So 20 primary, secondary in Greater Manchester, and it was 19 early years and Key Stage 1 in West Midlands. And Tina was one of our Pathfinders. So you'll hear more about that soon. But through that process, we weren't testing a whole programme that we'd come up with. We were testing everything we could, basically. How long should the activities be? What are confidence levels with these key areas that we're bringing on board? So geospatial mapping, citizen science, wellbeing, discussions around climate change, really testing everything we could in that phase. And we worked with over 3,000 young people and over 116 teachers and practitioners to really co-create everything that we have on the website so far, and gather heaps of data that have gone into development of all the different tools that we have online and are coming online over the next few years. And you can see that picture on the right there is from our Hidden Nature Challenge, which was a little taster activity we did to get people onto the geospatial platforms, just to see it's not this scary mapping geospatial thing. It's actually just this fun thing where you put a picture on, you can get your kids outside and look at your site in a new way. So we can pop a link to that in the chat later. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, we are focused on the built environment, so the grey to green in this first year. Again, just understanding that grey spaces have the largest potential for biodiversity increase. And we've seen some incredible examples, including of Tina's, who's going to talk shortly, of turning grey spaces green, involving the young people in that whole process, from understanding where it should go, using some of our tools around shade mapping and environmental conditions to understand what's best for your site, using some of our activities around plant selection that involve the young people in really thinking about the multiple benefits of plants and what plants you should and shouldn't have in spaces. So we've got all the activities to support these different areas. So we've got pools of water, so adding ponds basically to your site, grass, flowers, trees, green walls, and then the essential element is catch every raindrop, so rainwater harvesting, and really thinking about loads of different innovative ways that you could capture rainwater on your site, because obviously watering is a huge barrier to schools greening anything, because you need to water it over the summer holidays, etc. Next slide, please. So what actually is the programme? What are we asking people to do? So we've structured it in this 5-step cycle, which is a continuous loop, and it makes just common sense, really. It's anything you would do before doing anything on any site. So what you're going to do is, your young people, we have activities that sit within every one of these 5 steps, and it's all around getting them outside, building that connection to nature, building those skills, building a new understanding of the grounds that they go into every day, and really collectively making decisions around what are the best interventions that they could or should do on site. And then step 4, so making that change happen. We've had some amazing builds of green walls and ponds in grey spaces, and then recording that change, number 5. So that's essentially what I was talking about at the start, is that we have the tools now where you can monitor and collect data on the impacts you're having on biodiversity based on what you're doing on school site, which will be super handy for your climate action plans and any sustainability plans you're working on in schools. And the added benefit of this is that our programme aims to involve the young people in every step of the way. So we're having so many multiple benefits from that. And the legacy is that these young people really care about any changes that are happening on site, and they're really connected to your site as well. Next slide, please, Laura. As I mentioned, we have a whole heap of curriculum resources that are going online. So these are climate and nature related, not just nature. These are from the Natural History Museum. We've got a big bunch online now, but loads will be coming online over the next few years, going across all topics. And the Natural History Museum team are working to co-create some of these with teachers as well. Everything we put online is quality assured by the Royal Meteorological Society. That is the first time I've ever said that right. So they've checked that all the climate science is up to date and correct. because there's obviously so much out there and a lot of it is outdated, and climate change is a fast moving topic. So you can kind of rest assured that using curriculum resources from the Nature Park website is up to date, it's correct climate science, you're not kind of reiterating any myths around climate, which is always a good thing. And as I say, that loads will be coming online over the next few years. You can use our resource library to filter by topic, and they're all linked to the Nature Park activities as well. So you can get outside and do some activities alongside the curriculum resources, and where they are relevant, they're all linked through those processes as well. I think this might be my last slide, but we also have on our website, and we're constantly updating ways of finding help and local expertise. So it might be that you want to connect with your local men in sheds, or you want to connect with your local allotment. You want to see what opportunities there are for taking your young people to your allotment to learn skills from your community and bringing those back to your site. We also have a page on finding appropriate grants and fundraising as well. So these are all nationally applicable grants that you might be able to access to add nature on your site, but also advice on fundraising, and then advice on hiring external contractors as well. Next slide, please. That's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Tina, who's got lots more interesting stuff to say than I could.
Thank you. As usual, learnt loads, Sam. Wonderful, thank you. Can I have my first slide, please, Laura? Well, working with the National Education Nature Park team, I came to this thinking I knew everything. And believe me, I very quickly learned that no, I don't. I've had a wonderful time, an absolutely wonderful time. And the children have had an even better time. As you can see from the work going on in these pictures, we started at Bridgewater on an activity there using the little green frames that you can see in the picture. Those green frames grew into pieces of skipping rope tied up to make a different kind of frame for different activities, used across the curriculum, used for absolutely all kinds. So yes, it was nature-based with the RHS National Education Nature Park team, but within school it's been used in a very similar way, but for so many different things, all involving nature, all hitting curriculum targets. It's just been fantastic. On the bottom picture, those little frames came to Salford University with us when we went to visit the site there with the living lab. Absolutely amazing. Such a simple activity that we learned how to use from the National Education Nature Park team that costs very little, but can get your children outside learning just about anything and everything around your site. And yes, I realise I'm seeing here lots of green spaces, but maybe I should have put some pictures on when we were doing the same activity. I think he was with us, Sam, and we went up into the playground at the top, and there is, you'll see a slide in a minute, no green spaces there, but the same activity helped us inform what we did next. Can I have our next slide, please, Laura? Thank you. This is what, so if we look at the top picture there, that's how we started. And what a difference an afternoon with the National Education Nature Park team made. We worked with Jennifer and Simon. We looked at our environment in that playground. And I've got to say, it was a playground that was nothing more than that. It was a playground that was so grey. I decided I would address nature everywhere else. Anywhere else on the site, I'd noticed it. I could tell you what we were growing. I could tell you what we could do with it. This particular playground, until the National Education Nature Park team arrived, I wouldn't even have considered. And then they broke that barrier down for me. They helped us to see it, to really see it. That wall now is, as you see underneath, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Year 6 helped plan it based on an activity we did at Bridgewater with the National Education Nature Park team. We brought that to school and we just expanded it. They did all the planning. I drew the sketches. we had our lovely granddads. I run a gardening club, and we had our wonderful granddads and auntie. We have an auntie as well. And they came in and they helped to fit all of this. And then every single child through school, from the teeny tiny reception to our year 6, have all planted the first row. This is what you're seeing there is our spring planting. And that was actually donated to us from one of the local growers around here that works with our local council. So we were very lucky in that we got all of that plantation to start us off. What's even better is that's on a south-facing wall. And what some of our children are now starting to notice and come and chat to me about is that some of the plants are dying off and starting to ask the question, why? What can we do? Simple, we're changing it. There's a slide coming up later on where you'll see that the wall between the bench and the arch is now starting to become a salad wall. All edibles that will be used in our school kitchen. And it's mainly our year 1s and 2s and some of our reception children that have started all of that from seed. We've got some tiny lettuces that one of the children's brought in from home. She's brought me some little gems because she was so worried that some of our plants were dying. Her and her mum have started seed to bring in. It's become, I'd say, a living thing, but obviously it's a living thing, but it's living within the community. The people who live around here, bring their children here, are proud of what you see on that picture. They're really interested in it. It's going to feature quite heavily on Science Week. We're going to invite the parents in so they can see. It informs lots of our curriculum, but it just brings joy to our children. I should have put quotes and things on there that our children come up and say to me. It's our own rainbow, Mrs. Farrow. It's wonderful. They just love it. Can I have our next slide, please, Laura? So we went with the National Education Nature Park to Bridgewater, RHS Bridgewater, and we go there all the time. It's just amazing. If I say to the children, where do you want to go to do your science? I'm going to book you some trips. Bridgewater every time. They absolutely love it. We've learnt so much. We do our rocks and soils there. We do absolutely everything. Our self-led activity that you can see on there, that was our little ones. Just being introduced to growing. Absolutely loved it. And again, I tapped into all those resources that Sam was telling you about earlier to help set that trip up. And when you go on the RHS sites, either the gardening schools or Bridgewater itself, there's actually activities that you can do that are already done for you. You don't even have to think about it. Obviously, I tapped into the National Education Nature Park ones, and we trialled them out from little to big. Down the bottom there, I've got alder beetles. That was one of the absolute amazing moments. Simon introduced us. We'd seen this tree. We thought this tree was really poorly. We were getting quite worried about it. And Simon said, no, that's amazing. He said, you've got alder beetles. They're really rare. Greater Manchester's got the greatest concentration of them. And we were there. We had a whole alder tree full of alder beetles. Would never have known. But for the National Education Nature Park team, I'd have just been worried that our tree was poorly. And there it was, hosting a family of alder beetles. The young boy at the bottom there in our, it's just a wild area that we just leave wild. And there he is doing one of the activities from the nature park, independent. I'd taken a class out, give them all the activity and let them go wild with it. He's loving it. I can't stress enough what working with the National Education Nature Park team has done for me as a teacher, and allowed me to pass those skills on to some of our teachers. It's just been wonderful. Simon, we've got a picture of an oak tree there, tiny oak tree, 6 years old. Simon's taught us how we can look after those, nurture them on. Can we have our next slide, please, Laura? It must be further on, but I'll come back to my oak trees because they're really important. Learned so much from Simon. So here we're in our orchard. There they are, working with Simon and Jennifer with those frames again. Over the other side, some of the pictures there, that's me working at the wall with year 5 doing their plant reproduction lesson. Year 6 are using their interpretation and reasoning skills that I'm hoping are going to help them with their SATs next week. When they're answering some of those questions, they'll remember working with Jennifer and Simon and remember how they can go through some of that process. Can we have our next slide, please? There we go. So this, we've got, this is the slide that we've got our salad. Can you see the green corner on the green wall down the bottom? So you've got all the flowers and then it's starting to become green. By the end of May, that will be completely green and completely edible. Our children across school, across the age groups, are learning from that plants need the right environment. They're learning that we need to swap the plants. They're learning that by the end of May, they're all going to be changed. We're going to have a wall with drought tolerant because it's south-facing. And year 1 I've just put in yesterday, their little radishes that you can see there, and they've done their corner. Year 2 will take over tomorrow and start to put some of the other lettuce and things in. I'd say by next Wednesday, that entire wall will be green. It will be fabulous and edible. From this, they're all learning what plants need, and the right plant will survive in the right place. Can we have our next slide, please? This is where we're going. This is our next. So we've got our wall. Our wall looks fantastic. All lessons could be done there. We use our site, I'd say every day. There's the majority of our outdoor space have got children in it doing something. When Sam came with her team, we used the tool to map our site, and when asking the children what was missing, we discovered it was water. Apart from the water butts we have collecting the rainwater from the building, with no water on site, with nothing. We're addressing that, and with the help of Simon, we're going to put in a pond. It doesn't look much of a design at the moment. I wanted to have done the artist impression for you, but because year 6 are at such a busy point at the moment, I didn't have time to get them to do their painted designs for you. So you've had to make do with the pre-design that they've done, which is just a graphics on the computer. But from that shed stood on its little patio and the other little patio in front of it, that's all going to be taken out. That's also going to address part of our site that becomes a bog garden, whether we like it or not, because all our site kinders down to that. And again, I find this out by working with the National Education Nature Park. We learned so much. It's just wonderful. It really is. The team are so patient, so helpful, and the resources are second to none. It's absolutely fantastic. Between the National Education Nature Park, RHS Schools site and RHS Bridgewater, it's been amazing, and I'm really looking forward to using my calendar over June to get to grips with some of our eco activities that we're going to be working with as well. It's just been absolutely wonderful. I'm going to pass you on to Laura. If you've any questions, I'll be here later. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tina. It's always amazing to see what you've all been up to, and that green wall is looking so colourful from where it was. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. So I'm just going to chat a bit through how you can get involved in the National Education Nature Park yourselves in your schools. So the first thing you can do is really simply head to the Education Nature Park website, which is educationnaturepark.org.uk, where you can register for free and get your account on there and get started. So this is what the homepage of the website here looks like. So we've got the how it works section as well, which talks through the 5-step cycle that Sam talked about. And we'll continue to build out this page with videos and stuff coming soon to help you on your journey. You've also got the resources section along the top, which takes you to a library of resources, and you can filter by key stage, topic, duration, and the step of the Nature Park 5-step process as well. And we've also got our news and events section along the top, where we've got blog posts and articles and lots of case studies as well, so you can see what it's looking like on the ground in schools around the country. Once you've registered, the key thing to do is create your site boundary. So this is a really key step because it's from the point that all of your work that you do as part of the nature park gets measured, and it makes sure that you're on the nature park map as well. So you'll end up being one of these glowing green dots on our map once you created your site boundary on there. So that's a really key step to get started on the process. So I know that Tina mentioned Simon and Jenny, who are in the Northwest Nature Park regional teams, and they we've got 5 supported regions at the moment. So we've got the Northeast Yorkshire, the Northwest, East Midlands, West Midlands, and Nature Park West Midlands as well. And these regions are, we've got on the here, we've got their email addresses so they can be contacted. We'll put these in the chat as well, so you can get in touch with them, and then we'll be rolling out support to other regions of England in the next few months and years as well. So we've got a really exciting event coming up on Outdoor Classroom Day, which is Thursday, the 23rd of May. So we're calling all children and young people across the country to be habitat heroes and join us in this special mission. So this is an activity that you can take part in, whether you've signed up to the nature park or whether you haven't signed up yet, you can still get involved. And so what you do is you'll go onto the Habitat Heroes webpage. So again, we'll put the link in the chat at the end, and you'll follow prompts through this activity to discover homes for wildlife that you have on your site. So it might be a pile of leaves where a worm could hide, or it might be a pond where frogs might live, or a fence panel where a spider could build a web. So it's about plotting, finding those and uploading your findings to an online map. So then you can see all of what's being discovered across the country on the same day. And this activity is really designed to give a taste of what the nature park's all about. So working together and seeing what happens when we all work together, explore your site, but it's also preparing you for the mapping your site stage of the nature park, which is again a really vital step to create a map of the habitats that you've already got so you can understand your starting point and build up from there. So that's the web address there. Please do get involved on Thursday the 23rd of May. Really fun activity to take your learning outside, and yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing what gets discovered on this day across the country. And finally, I just wanted to chat a bit about sharing your story, a bit like Tina has today. So it's really important that we celebrate you and how you're getting involved in the nature park, and also to inspire others to get involved, because we know that the more schools, colleges and nurseries that get involved, the bigger impact we'll have on nature, but also on the future generation. So it's really, really important that we hear stories from the nature park community to celebrate you, but also inspire others. So we've got a couple of ways you can share what you're up to, and the first is to email us. So we've got an email address there, hello@educationnaturepark.org.uk, where you can get in touch with us, and we can hear about what you've been up to. We might want to get in touch with you about a case study, or maybe doing some interviews or taking part in webinars like this. But also we've got the Education Nature Park hashtag here, which if you are on social media, it'd be amazing if you can share what you're up to so we can just see. So that's all from me. Thank you, Sam and Tina, as well. We're really happy to be here today chatting to you. And yeah, we've got some time for some questions now, I believe.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Sam, Tina and Laura. That was really brilliant. And it's amazing to hear about all the resources that are available for schools on the website. And it makes it sound really nice and easy, like a real step-by-step process that schools can get involved. And Tina, I have to say that wall is amazing. I was just in awe. It's really, really incredible what you've managed to create. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's amazing, especially as you know, so many schools across the country have brick walls and grey spaces. So to bring it all to life like that is absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to invite my colleague Alison to the floor because she's been monitoring the chat box and has a bunch of questions. So she'll be assigning questions to different people, or maybe opening it up to the floor. So over to you.
Thank you. So Tina, this one is for you about the living wall, actually. What is the plan for the living wall over the summer months when the school is closed?
Well, during the working week, we have monitors that look after it. At the moment, I've just sourced, funnily enough, this week, 2 solar pumps. There's one big solar pump that I'm considering running both sides of the wall from, or 2 smaller ones and 2 water butts that the caretaker or myself will fill up weekly, because I come on site weekly anyway. Between us, we'll fill the water bucks. The 2 smaller pumps will run and fill with little drip feeders. It is a south-facing wall, so I'm going to replant the top. I need to speak to Nina at the RHS and just make sure I get the most drought-tolerant plants possible along the top, because at the moment it's the first 4 layers that I'm struggling with. I think during the summer holiday it's going to be further up because it does get so dry. But yeah, we're tackling it at the minute with monitors. Going into the next holiday in May, I'm hoping to have the water butts and solar pumps, because we've no access to running water or electricity there. Watch this space. With a bit of luck, it'll work.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like you've got a very thorough plan there.
Yeah.
Thank you. This question for Sam, I know that you've typed an answer in the chat, but just for our audience who are watching the recording, could you explain if there's any training for staff to understand how they use the map and the layering?
Definitely. So the geospatial mapping is all linked through a schools account. So when you register, you'll then be able to access the geospatial mapping that's hosted by Esri. We have how-to videos on the website as well that were produced by NHM citizen science teams to try and talk everyone through step-by-step process of how you get onto that mapping. There's a few key stages. So you'll register to be part of the nature park. You'll then outline your site boundary around your school, and that's just so everything you gather within your school is assigned to your school URN. It sounds very complicated, but honestly, it's easy when you go through the process. And then you can take part in the nature park, do the 5 steps, and then as you're collecting all sorts of data, you can start to add them to the map, like your habitat types, which is done through another Esri app, and then over spring, we'll be launching biodiversity surveys. And then all this data can be seen via your dashboard, so you can zoom in on your school and look at everything you've collected. I think the comment was from someone at a local authority. So the problem there might be that local authority accounts can't access the geospatial mapping just because there's only accounts for schools with school sites or education sites.
Great, thank you so much. And we've had a question, maybe Laura, this one to you. Should the DFE decide funding will be available for eligible schools next year, when is that likely to be announced? So I think the person asking is again from the local authority, so wants to make sure schools are aware of it coming in advance.
I can take that one, Laura. That's cool. Yes, so it should be soon. Everything's being negotiated, and our window for this year only just closed last week. So we need to work out many different things, how much does pot, etc., etc. So it should be over the next couple of months, and there'll be communications to schools via every way we can, emails, phone calls, letters, but other organisations have been key to the success of this year's grant programme and really mobilising networks for those schools that they work with who are on the eligible list. We hope that that list will be published again like it was last year, so everyone can access it and let schools know that they work with that they're eligible. So yes, more to come, and when it does come out, we'll be doing a lot of comms on it. So yeah, keep an eye out.
Great, thank you very much. And maybe time for one last question. In the chat, someone has said, how should other organisations go about contributing to the National Education Nature Park? They're from the British Ecological Society and would like to contribute to the resources on the website. Laura or Sam?
Yeah, I can take that one. So yeah, thank you so much for your interest. We're always really keen to hear from other organisations. So the best thing to do would be get in touch with us via that email address. So I'll again pop it in the chat, but it's hello@educationnaturepark.org.uk, and someone will get back to you.
Brilliant, amazing. Thank you so much. I think we are literally just at time, so that was a very quick round of questions, but just want to say a big thank you again to Sam, Tina and Laura for coming on and presenting about the Education Nature Park and your experience with getting involved and getting your students involved. It's so exciting seeing it come to fruition and seeing those those green walls and greater green spaces actually, and students getting enthusiastic about finding those little hidden gems of nature that are all around us. So a big thank you to all our speakers, and thank you for everyone who's joined us today and everyone who's watching the recording. For those who have joined us, I will send around the recording in the next couple of days once I've edited it and uploaded it, along with some sort of the key links and stuff that we've put in the chat. If anyone has any follow-up questions, please do email us at Let's Go Zero, or as Laura says, email directly to the Education Nature Park. And so thank you, everybody.